check your cam. Zit er net zo?
Ja.
Okay. 1, 2, prato?
Hello.
Yes. Okay.
Yo, it's been a minute.
What's been a minute?
Being here.
Okay, okay, go to streaming. Let's start streaming. En voor ik live ga, zoals doen die altijd.
Gaat ons foto doen.
Ja, gaan we dat goed doen, joh? Gaat je?
Okay, now let me, I can take my mask off for this at least.
And then just stand there for me.
Rian, ek smok so lap. Nie my broek aan kry nie, né?
Hoe kom ik?
Die broek is vuil.
Man, ik ga het weer zo maken. En dat zal je zien in basis. Right.
Kaya siya ma, as na tanyati. Diyan din nog teken.
Oké, het jou mensen live ook nog eens.
Hulle sal inkom.
Maar deze live gekregen.
Ons op live. Ons is al klaar live.
Oh my word.
I always make it before so that give them time.
1, 2, live. Die gaan we live. Camera's right, ja. Good morning everybody, welcome to Reality Check Online Radio. Once again a cold morning in Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain. It's raining, it's crazy. We've got a guest in studio, haven't seen her for I think it's like 3-4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Influencer, speaks about many of things. So today we're bringing you Ronelle Prince in studio. Any questions you have for her, you're welcome to post it on the live. Also after the show, if you still have questions, you're welcome to email us on info@realitycheckradio.co.za. Let's just jump straight into it. Ronelle, welcome and thank you for joining us. Tell us more about you. Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been quite a minute since I've been on radio. Yeah, me. I come from Mitchell's Plain actually. I used to stay in Bayview. I am a mom to a 6-year-old, a wife to a husband that I want to kill most of the time. Please do not delete that and don't use that against me. But I'm a gender-based violence activist, or I don't like the word activist really, but let's say warrior speaker, motivational speaker. I'm very much about mental health. I have my own organization and my own little small business, but I'm also a full-time mom. So life has been a bit hectic and busy. A lot has happened over the past few years and life has changed. So I think that sums me up a little bit.
Alright, you said something about a GBV activist. Okay, no, you don't like the word activist. Can you tell us more about why you're a GBV activist and what led you to that?
I'd say I'm a gender-based violence survivor or warrior because I was abused, I was sexually molested since the age of 4 and from there it was all family members, it was just family members for the first few years of my life. I actually had been through a phase where I had no memory of, like about, I think up until the age of 12. Then from there I went into a lot of things, a lot of bad things, and I ended up in abusive relationships and I was raped before as well. And when I eventually came, I think at the age of 30, I had an extreme life-changing moment. And that is when I started speaking about it and seeking help and actually dealing with the trauma that I was hiding away. Because I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be just with a dream, and I think it's a dream. And I went through certain therapies to help me remember and just to heal from it. And for me, the reason why I went into gender-based violence is because I always felt that we shouldn't just put therapy in the let's sitting on the couch kind of thing. So I created an environment where you can heal in whichever form makes you heal. So I used photography, I used art, I used writing, and that is what helped me heal. Sitting and talking didn't help with my trauma, it didn't help me get anywhere, it didn't help me take my body back. Because when you're being molested, when you are sexual assault, when you're sexually assaulted in any way, be it in your marriage, be it in your relationship or family members, a part of you is taken away from you. They take your body and they don't realize that. And I did this photo shoot in which I had words written on my body that my perpetrators would say to me. Like the one said once, I know wait, what did he say? You know you want it. And it was in the process of me saying no, no, no the whole time. And it was a close friend of mine. And that to me, it felt my body was being stripped constantly by people that just thought they had power over me. And I didn't want that anymore. And by doing this photo shoot, it really helped in taking back my body and taking back my life again, and no longer having pieces of them on me, but metaphorically speaking.
Right, so you said at the age of 30,
yes.
You basically, we can call it, came out in the sense, realized enough is enough. So up to 30, what was the feeling, what was the experience, the emotion that you went through?
I think I was an extremely toxic person. I won't deny that. I was quite toxic. I had no idea, obviously, at the time why every relationship I was in was an abusive relationship. If it wasn't physical, it was mentally, it was emotionally, it was financially. And people always say, that the physical scars heal. But when it comes to emotional and mental, that does not heal. And I just kept having breakdowns. I kept having blackouts as well. And when I say blackouts, I remember a ex-partner and I were at Gonzo's in Plumstead. It's not there anymore. And what had happened was, I think we had a fight and I ended up throwing him down the stairs. But I blanked out completely. I have no memory of that moment. I have no memory of what had happened afterwards. My friend that was actually there, he told me, but this is what you did and that is what you did. So my trauma sort of suppressed such a lot, but I also had that whole fight mode. And the fight mode would happen where I just blank out. And that is what put me in so much different types of therapy. I went through all these kind of meditations. They put me on everything and nothing really helped.
So going through all those emotions and ordeals, how did people look at you at the time?
Before or after?
Let's say before 30, while you were going through all that ups and downs with relationships and
myself as well.
With yourself as well, battling with yourself. How did, if you want to put it, that community, the world look at you when you acted out? Because I know sometimes, when people go through trauma without mentioning it, and they react to it, there will always be somebody say, hey, she's a madman, or hey, she's got a problem. How did the community perceive you, or how did the world see you at the time, and what did it make you feel like?
Before becoming an influencer, I didn't have much of a following. And for me, I was the kind of person, I was so naive. I got married at the age of 20, my first marriage, and I was divorced before my 22nd birthday. I was the kind of person that tried to please everybody. And I think I did that merely because so much was taken away from me, and I felt, my body is only for this reason. In actual fact, that's how I felt. I felt like my body is only meant for one reason, and that is for men to take advantage of. So I became known as the chili ball slut, because that is what, and they don't realize why, but it took me obviously a while to understand that, and it's actually, there's a word for it, it's called hypersexuality. For those that go through traumatic experiences such as being raped or sexually molested, you tend to constantly be having sex with people. And that is what everyone perceived me as prior to 30. And it obviously took me so long to realize what it was. But it didn't bother me in any way. I didn't feel, I was like, okay, that's how you feel, that's your thing. It's got nothing to do with me. But I also had the issue of doing everything that other people wanted me to do it. I wasn't happy about doing it. And I sort of lost myself. I lost who I was. I didn't know who Ronel Prince was anymore. Because Ronel Prince, in my marriage, I became the submissive, obedient wife that was locked inside. My friendships, I became this and that kind of friend. And I wasn't a me. Me didn't exist. Just the image of what other people portrayed me as. That is what existed.
So when did you realize that you went through all these ordeals and traumas? So when did you realize that it's depression, anxiety? Where did that come in? How did you realize that hey, I've got depression or I've got anxiety? Because many of people say they go to the doctor give you antibiotics, pain pills, that's it. But how did you get to that point?
I actually didn't know that I had it, to be honest. I had no idea. I do know that I was diagnosed at 16 when my dad passed with seasonal depression. So seasonal depression is not something that is constant in your life. It will happen maybe, so you'll have an episode now and then a couple of years later, and it's very mild. It's very, very mild. However, the incident with the ex-partner that I threw down the stairs, that part, what I did was, when my friend told me, I was working at a company and I was lucky I was under medical aid. And I went to my manager because she had known me for quite a while. I think I was about 24 at the time, 23, 24. And I spoke to her and she immediately got me into Kenilworth Clinic. And it was through Kenilworth Clinic that I started learning, okay, I'm suffering from PTSD because of the sexual trauma. I have hypersexuality because I'm trying to take back what the men stole from me. So I would have sex with anybody because I need to take back what they took from me. That was how it was perceived. And I didn't even know that. I had to take a professional to tell me, what this is, why you're doing these sort of things. And I was up until about 26, 27, I was on medication because then I had to go through the clinic, and you obviously have to go through a lot of testing as well, and they do behavioral. So I was just diagnosed with anxiety and depression. But then I would just go off the medication because I was like, I wasn't aware, I didn't know much about it. I really didn't. Prior to that, I didn't know much about it. I can't say I didn't believe in it. I knew it existed, but I was clueless. So and I think that is what constantly, the cycle couldn't get broken because I wouldn't know and I wouldn't acknowledge, this is what you have and this is what you're going through. So that was a bit tough. It was a bit.
And during this time, as time went by, you went 2022 with your marriage, and then as you got to 30, you realized, okay, this seems to be an issue, this seems to be a problem. What was your relationship with friends and family before and after?
Before, it was constant fighting with partners, family members. Although with this, because I never told, so what had happened was, family actually, part of my family actually cut me off because I had opened up about who my perpetrators were to a family member. And this specific family member ended up telling everyone that I am making up these stories about the son and all of this and all of that. And the family just, I'm a liar or I'm all of that. And they still didn't realize that it was real. They wouldn't accept the fact that their children would actually do something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's so many instances that I remember so in detail. Like, for instance, the dress that I wore, the shoe that I wore, the way my hair was. For somebody that can remember so much detail, you can't tell me that it didn't happen to me because I still have that particular dress. So for some reason I kept on to it. And a lot of people, I lost a lot of friends through the years before 30. And I always felt that I wasn't the right one. I wasn't a good friend. I thought something must have been wrong with me because why does everybody leave me all the time? And they'd end up making up stories about me being this kind of person and that person. And I was just like, but that's not who I am. And it just got to the point where, you know what, I just want to be alone now. I can't deal with friends. The heartache of losing a friend is just as bad as losing someone you love, a partner or things like that. And people don't talk about that. Friendship breakups can really also mess you up. I ended a friendship of 12 years because I was too controlled by her. I was so under her and believed everything she did that it took me till after 30 to decide, you know what, this is it. I am not that person that you want me to be. I need to be my own person. So I lost a lot of friends, and I don't blame them. I don't nothing, because they all had a reason. You know, they all had a purpose. They all had a season, and their season was just over. Some of, like my husband, for example, he's stayed in my life since he's been in my life now for 19 years. So he's one of the consistent ones I have. And then another best friend of mine as well, she's also been in my life for 20 years. Those are the few friendships that I've still maintained. And then family, you know, when you tend to speak out and you don't throw things under the carpet, family don't really like that.
All right. So moving forward, you're over 30. All right. Do you still have that instances where you're drawn back into that depression and anxiety?
Yes, very, very much so. The year that I turned 30 was quite a pivotal year in my life. I remember that in January I was working at an IT company, and in January I had this moment where I just said, God, I am not where I'm supposed to be. Please show me what I need to do. Please guide me as to where I need to go and what it is that He wants me to do. By March, I had surgery, so I was off work for 2 months. And by the time I came back, everything changed. I don't know if anybody remember, it was the hair debacle that I had with the company. They wouldn't allow me to have my hair in its natural state. It was apparently untidy. And after that, that is when life changed. That is when I realized that, you know what, this is not where I'm supposed to be. From there, I went into radio. From there is when I opened my foundation and I started all the work that I did. And that is when I started healing. And that is when, still seeking help though, I would still occasionally go to the clinic, and I would still be on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, because I'd known. But the most severe part and where the disorders come in only happened during lockdown time. So lockdown 2020 was, I think, a life changer, or just that one thing where you're like, that's it. That was what now made you realize it. But also the thing about me is that I was very self-aware. And that is the difference, and that helps so much in knowing that you are self-aware.
All right. Now, suffering from depression and anxiety, does it affect your ability to work?
Very, very much. So I don't just have depression and anxiety, right? I have disorders. So I've got borderline personality disorder, major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and PTSD. Those are something that is permanent. It's not seasonal, you have to be on medication for that. They are mood stabilizers, and I'm a chronic insomniac, so I cannot sleep unless I'm given medication. And it affects seeking for jobs, firstly, because now you have to be open and say, you know what, I have this. People don't want to deal with somebody that can have a mood change within a split second. So it affected a lot when it came to work. And I think that's also what made me just decide, what, just open your own hustles. Do your own hustles instead. But it didn't stop the hurt of being under that stigma. Because I was like, I'm unable to work. I was a risk to myself. I was a risk to people. There was all those things. So I couldn't just go to a job. Because unless a doctor tells me that, you know what, you are fine, you're no longer a risk, then yes, I can go look for work. And for me, I wasn't able to look for work for about 2 years because my disorders were so severe. And when you aren't on the right medication, when you're not being treated properly or not going through the right channels, then it's harder. And the episode sort of repeat itself over and over and over again, and you constantly find yourself in this constant state of depression because there is just not enough help and there's not proper help out there.
Well, and I remember previously you mentioned, and I know 4 years ago, you've spoken in detail about it more and more over the years with regards to trying to commit suicide. Just give us an explanation or reason to why. In the sense, you're suffering from depression, the disorders, anxiety, but getting to that point to commit suicide, what led you there?
That's usually the most difficult question to answer, because when you have a mental health disorder, you are fighting a battle with your brain. And it's a battle that your brain tends to just win constantly. And your brain will tell you you're not good enough. Your brain will tell you, I need to, cut myself, self-harm, take away whatever pain I'm feeling. Your brain will tell you all of these things. And while it's telling you these things, you're actually going through things such as losing somebody or somebody walking out of your life, or you just can't handle life anymore. You can't handle the fact that there's no finances coming in, there's no this, there's no that, you're struggling, constantly struggling. And for me, I always felt, because everybody left in my life, I always felt, maybe I'm not meant to be here. Because if I'm such a bad person to everyone else, then what's the point of living? Because if I'm constantly doing wrong in your eyes, that means that you see me as an ugly person, as a bad person. So then why are you still in my life? And the fact that you're staying in my life means you're hurting me further, because you're not going to stop saying those bad things or treating me badly as well. And that, it increases the way you feel about yourself, the self-doubt that comes with it. And that is the worst part, is the self-doubt. And if it's not self-harming, I think my last suicide attempt was January this year. That was my last. I've also been prone to self-harming myself as well, because I had a stint where I had to stay in hospital for a while. But the suicide attempt was the only way to take away the pain. Mine was taking medication. Mine was overdosing on my medication. And then every time I'd wake up, I'd think like, okay, no, you know what, this is not working. I need to now try something else. And when I eventually actually got to a medication and a dosage, and the feeling that I felt was euphoric, to say. I was like literally floating. And that is what felt so good in that moment. I was drugged up, I overdosed myself, but there was a moment where I just felt like I was laying on a cloud and everything was perfect. That is what we seek. And that is why we constantly, just to have that moment, even if it's for 5 minutes, I want to feel that moment. Because it's not every time that you're going to get it. And I think, doesn't matter how you choose how your suicide attempt is. Like cutting, for example, if we physically cut ourselves, in our minds, the emotional pain is gone. Because you're now focused on the physical pain. So now the emotional pain is dissipated. And with suicide, it's with attempted suicide or overdosing, you don't even need to deliberately take too many medication. You can just take, say, 2 nights of your nightly medication. That is an overdose on its own already. If you're going to double up on your medication, it's an overdose. But you're overdosing because you want that feeling. You want that feeling of euphoria. You want that feeling of being on a cloud and just, the world is perfect now. And you want to stay that way forever because you keep trying and trying and trying, and you just cannot try anymore. You don't have anything to give anymore.
You know, I've heard previously many of people I spoke to, that do suffer with depression, anxiety, and so on, that it's hard. A typical day for them is hard. Can you just explain in your view and what you experience? Because normally sometimes I'll hear people say, just waking up.
It's very hard.
It's very hard, and during the day it's very hard. Even like you said, going to sleep is very hard. Can you just explain in your words, what do you experience in a typical day?
If it's during a depression, I call mine episodes, but it's constant. I can physically unable to get myself out of bed. I would go through weeks of not bathing, through weeks of not brushing my hair or brushing my teeth or eating, or just staying in bed, not going outside, not seeing the day, not seeing the daylight, nothing there. And it can last for a couple of days, it can last for weeks, it can last for months. There is no time frame on what a typical day is, because I can plan something now today and say, you know what, George, let's have coffee tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Now I wake up tomorrow morning and I feel crippled with anxiety. Then I can't go, and I would then need to cancel. And that's the hard part that people don't understand, is that we don't choose it. It's not our choice to be that way. It's not our choice that, your brain is literally different to a normal person's brain that doesn't have a disorder. And it's so debilitating that, it's so paralyzing that your whole body literally will be rigid, or it will be in pain, or you will feel, your head will be exploding. There's so many different forms of symptoms. Like with mine, if I miss a dosage of my medication, my brain will literally feel like it's on fire. And that is one of the symptoms of my disorders. And if I miss it for 3 days, then I end up going either crazy, or I end up being sick, and I will just be in severe withdrawal symptoms. And all of those things people don't realize is part of it. Me saying no to you is not because, I'm saying no. It's because I'm actually fighting right now, and the hard part is just to put my feet out of the bed. That can even be hard. Brushing my teeth can even be hard. Yes, I have a routine with my son, but it doesn't mean that by the time I drop him at school and I come home, I'm going to be sociable again, or I'm going to be okay. That routine is there for both me and him to maintain, something in our lives. But when I come home, I will still feel the feel of crippling anxiety, or the crippling of depression, or the fact that I just want to wrap myself up and not leave anywhere. And there's different forms of it.
You spoke about COVID. Now, I know for many people, COVID was a pandemic. And then I know the government just pushed the vaccine. It was just about the vaccine at the time, promoting vaccines. But many people lost their jobs. People didn't have anything to eat. Government offered the 350 rand per month.
Which didn't even help.
And I personally know many people that actually only received that 350 rand 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
I actually got mine last year.
So COVID was passed already, and then you received this money. So how was COVID for you? Seeing that you are already struggling, but now everything is shut down. You cannot have a normal routine, cannot break away from you. It's almost like you're locked into a little space, isolated in the sense. What did COVID do for you?
COVID 2020 was most probably the worst year for me. I knew in the beginning of the year, I had a feeling that, something was going to happen. This was not knowing anything about COVID at the time. I was working at a hair salon, and my hours were flexible and it wasn't bad or anything. But then I got to the point where the isolation got to me. Being somebody that has all these disorders, we actually like being inside and we like isolating ourselves. However, COVID was so different because it's not just that you're choosing the isolation, it's that the government is forcing you to isolate. And now you're isolating either with people that don't understand your condition, people that are contributing to why you have the conditions. And yes, I spoke to my psychologist regularly on, we did video calls because that is what they offered during COVID. But I had a breakdown. I ended up having a breakdown in September. The exact date, it was the 7th of September 2020, where I just had gotten a job as a waitress at Spur, and for that entire week I was being treated like so crap, and I couldn't handle it. And when we were having meetings, and I said, please don't squash me in because my anxiety doesn't allow it, they didn't respect that, so they deliberately boxed me in. And my anxiety grew and grew and grew to the point where I just broke. And I left, I went to a friend, I don't know how I got home. I ended up at home and I ended up taking an overdose. And I was really, really blessed that a friend somehow had figured out that, she needs to come to me. And she came all the way from the northern suburbs to come to Bayview, and she took me to hospital. And that is where everything changed. Everything for me changed from there. I was booked into Victoria Hospital under suicide watch for 72 hours at first. However, I was self-harming as well. So I had gone up to the ward. There is a specific ward that is kind of caged. So there's a security gate. 6 beds, you're not allowed anything in there, no phones, no nothing. You're allowed 1 phone call a day. It was very, very limited. So with Victoria Hospital, I was there for a month. And from Victoria Hospital, I then went to Lentegeur Psychiatric Hospital. And that is where, I've got so much to say about that.
All right, just before we jump to Lentegeur, just one more question with regards to, you said you have many jobs in your working career. Did you ever find an employer maybe place you or offer assistance with regards to your disorders, with regards to, and when you maybe say, look, I do suffer from depression and anxiety, I need this assistance. Did any of the employers actually offer?
No.
Assistance with regards to, okay, we'll place you in that section, we'll put you there.
I never had that. Well, besides the one company that I worked for for Woolworths, in actual fact, yes, Woolworths are absolutely, well, when I was still there, they were very amazing when it came to that. I think I was also blessed because I had known the manager. I started working at Woolworths when I was 17, left and then went back. So I had known the manager since that age really. And they were the only company that I've ever worked for that didn't still wait for me to come. They could see, Renal, you need help. Are you okay with me giving you help? Whereas Spur, for example, would ask me, the manager literally asked, is there something wrong in your head? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, are you really asking me a question like that? Is there something wrong in my head? Like, how do you ask anybody that? That is, for me, that was so insulting. It was so painful and so hurtful to hear a grown-ass man ask a question knowing we're still in COVID, knowing that mental health has increased so badly in the COVID period, and you still have the audacity to ask somebody, is there something wrong with your head? That is just one question you don't ask anybody. Whether you're suffering or not, you just don't ask that question. Because it's saying that you're actually putting the stigma and saying, yes, that mental health is crazy people only. And it doesn't work that way. So I didn't have, and like in the past 2 years, I applied for jobs. The moment I disclose the fact that these are my disorders, never get a call back. And I can't lie either, because I need to make sure that, I attend my appointments and all of this. So the company needs to know that. And it's been quite hard getting a job that way. Sorry.
Alright, so in general, when companies basically find out you've got these disorders, they turn you away in the sense by utilizing some form of legal jargon or something, or just not calling you back.
Just not calling you back. And I felt, and many times I would feel that, they don't know how to deal with it, they're not educated. And I really do feel that there are South African companies, South African owned companies, need to be educated where mental health is concerned. Because like I now own a mobile salon, and one of my clients, she works in Cape Town, but she works for an international company. And this company, mandatory, it's compulsory for them to take Mondays off as a mental health day. They're not allowed to have nobody's allowed to contact them. Each one gets, their groups get alternated, but they had every week, one day, and it's strictly mental health day. And that's what they called it. Whereas South Africa's like, if you don't work, you don't get paid. So, okay, fine, I'm now busy having an anxiety attack, and I'm in the bathroom, and I'm laying on the floor, and I can't breathe. What are you going to do about it? Because you're overworking me, and you're not allowing that. I'm not saying all the companies should do that, but what I am saying is that they need to be more educated. They need to actually know what it's really like working with someone, because there's nothing wrong with us. I can still do my job. I work how many jobs, and I still take care of my son all day, and I'm still capable of doing things. It's not that I'm incapable of it. It's just that sometimes there are triggers, and sometimes the triggers, but because I know my triggers, I will then adjust to it. But don't stigmatize me just because, borderline personality disorder, in their mind, you have different personalities. Actually, I don't have different personalities. That's schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is the different personalities. Borderline personality disorder is something totally, totally different. That is sort of on par with bipolar, but also more severe than bipolar, because suicidal tendencies are more with people that has BPD disorder. And on top of it is major depressive, and there's like all of those things. So it adds constantly on there. And the more people try to tell you, just get over it and just breathe, just this, just that. I'm like, people, you think I didn't do that?
Ronel, our country celebrates Women's Month.
Yeah.
Right? In Women's Month, they advocate for, normally gender-based violence and all that. In Women's Month, do you think that our government is doing enough on promoting and educating our communities with regards to mental health?
No, not at all. Not at all. Under my foundation, I would go to schools and I'd approach schools and say, look, I do this and that, mental education as well as mental health education. I have, however, noticed a book, I had somebody's school book, and it was the life skills. It was nowadays, like back then we didn't have life skills hoe sê mens nou, that was a free subject when we were still in high school. But then I went through this life skills book, and I noticed that there was actually information with regards to mental health in the book itself. And I couldn't understand why in schools, I felt that maybe not all of the schools are getting this book, or maybe they're not able to afford it. But I really do feel that if that one book can just go through all of our schools, they will be more educated. Teachers will be more educated, because there's even teachers that struggle. For example, my son has ADHD and ASD, and getting him to adjust to the school environment was a bit difficult, because they don't know how to deal with him. He's in a normal mainstream school. We can't afford a special need because he doesn't have a special need. That there's nothing wrong with him. He's brilliant. He's a genius. It's just that he needs a little bit of extra attention. So there was a lot of not understanding, and I feel that Yes, fair enough, you go through all of this training and all of that, but are you actually listening? Are you listening to understand, or are you just listening so you can get that credit? Because that is the mistake people make. They don't listen to understand, they listen to benefit. They listen to respond. They listen to just say that, you know what, oh, I did that. And I heard that and I know that, but you understand it. There's a huge difference in that. And I feel that that is what's going wrong in our world right now, or in South Africa, is that people are going on all of these webinars and, you know, offers that the government gives for free and training courses and whatever. But I would still see you, and I'd still see you posting things that shouldn't be posted at all, that could trigger people, but yet you went and you did your course. So now why are you still being triggered? Why are you still triggering people? So I think also it's our people that are ignorant, that chooses to just stigmatize us at the end of the day. It's not just the government, it's the people as well.
Ronel, you mentioned something about posting and triggering. And just some clarity on that, because, you know, I've heard this before, where people say, look, I'm posting, let's make an example of Facebook, or maybe TikTok. I'm posting a video, you know, or just a little paragraph about my life. How does my life become your trigger? And also, how should I know that it's triggering you?
It's not up to you to be bothered by whether it triggers me or not, because it's your post, it's your journey. How you share it is up to you, and that's the problem with why people have issues with the people that social media. Like in the beginning, when I started with all of these things, I hate the word influencer, but when I started with my journey, I was told I need to behave in a certain way. Everybody that knows me knows I have a very foul sailor mouth, so I was told, no, you need to act this. I was like, but the people like me because I am genuine. I don't act or Lani or things like this. I'm straight up. I say I don't have front teeth right now, so you must deal with me with a mask. And if you see me in public, it's fine, I get. And that's the problem people have on social media, is that they follow these people and then they judge them. You're judging and you're getting triggered by something that is nothing to do with you. Yes, if you are going to say, if you're going to talk about, say, something with me in regards to mental health and a journey that had happened to you, and I get triggered, I maybe get triggered because maybe you were treated unfairly, and that is why, because I've also been treated unfairly, so that is what caused me to get triggered. But it's not your fault, it's not your post. It shouldn't be that way, because it's your Facebook, it's your journey, how you choose to share your journey. And how I choose to share my journey shouldn't matter to anybody else either, because it's mine to share. It's my voice to say. And what people want to, it's like people are constantly, no, you're looking for attention, you're looking for this, you're looking for that. I'm thinking to myself, do you even know what it is looking for attention is really like? Because there is nobody in this world except a really egotistical person that will be posting their journey on Facebook for attention. Nobody does that. And if you're getting triggered by it, then that's your problem. Let Cinderella give you all the shoes that she has. But don't, it's got nothing to do with how my therapist always tells me, nobody can make you feel a certain way. What they say, what somebody says to you, how you perceive it is how you're making yourself feel. So it's your perception of it. You perceive it one way, that person may have meant it a different way. But because you choose to perceive it the one way, you're now feeling triggered by it and you now want to attack the person. And you're now saying, yes, but that person made me feel this way. But it's not that person that made you feel that way. It's how you perceived what the person may have said or what the person may have written. That is what triggered you. And that is what made you feel the way that you feel. And those things are what people don't really understand.
All right, so coming back where you said you went to hospital and you had this ordeal at the hospital. Tell us more, because normally what happens is we phone the ambulance pick you up, and there you go. Come in, they admit you, they treat you, and that's it. How is let's say you get admitted to hospital? How is it for you?
As a mental health patient,
yeah,
it if you're not a medical aid, I'm very sorry, but you are gonna have probably the worst experience ever. I obviously, after my Victoria stay, I had gone to Lentegee Psychiatric Hospital, and because I was still a high risk patient, there was two high risk wards. So I was under high risk A. And let me tell you, that place gave me so much PTSD that I was going crazy. Literally, it's prisoners get treated better than people with mental health in that facility. And I saw it. I saw how these nurses would hit these women, these young girls. They would not just hit, they'll clap you. And I saw during the night, there was once where this girl, she couldn't sleep. She struggled to sleep. They literally threw her off the bed. The nurses threw her off the bed, injected it twice, and then still hit her the entire time. And this is in a mental health facility where they're supposed to be helping you. The high risk A, it's so, you're in a cell, the door gets locked, it's a steel door, you can't get out because it gets locked from the outside. There's no bed, there's no pillow, there's no toilet. It's practically probably the size of this room right now, and there's no window. The window is that thick type of glass, so it's not real, and it's just such a small square window. You're sleeping on a thin base mattress. You only get one blanket. You have to wear the government clothing that they provide. So now you can imagine it is raining and you have to wear a skirt or a dress because that is what they have. They only give you the tracksuits because when it's like really, really now cold according to them, to the nurses. Other than that, you have to sleep with a dress on and that one blanket. You're only allowed 2 pairs of underwear. You can't actually bath yourself properly. You just have to stand. You get watched as you're being bathed. You get your face cloth. You have to put a little bit of soap, magnet so and T-junction, and that's it. And then you must be done. You're not allowed any other clothes. So there's no way you can put a pair of leggings under just to stay warm. No pillows allowed. No. And if you want to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, you have to catch their attention because there's a camera in the room. So you have to catch their attention so that they can come and open. And there's another door that is also being locked. So you're practically locked in a cell. And in the cell, there is nothing you can do. And you're inside the cell for, I think I calculated about 18 hours a day. You are locked in there. You can't have anything. No books, nothing. So even if you can't sleep, you must just lay there until it's time for you to come out again. And the way they treated it, don't dare try and pee more than twice at night. Because then they will leave you in the room and they will let you piss or let you do whatever there and then they will hit you. Even though you were calling them constantly, that's what they did with one girl. She needed to use the bathroom and we were locked in. It was during the day and we were in our cells. I'll call it cells because basically that's what it is. Only one person allowed in there. And she, just to understand, the girl had severe issues. However, she needed to go to the toilet and we were all making a noise. She had no other choice and she just sat there and she did a number 2. But when the nurses came and they opened up, they grabbed us so hard and they just hit her. And we are fighting the nurses saying, yes, but we all called you. We all called you to say that she needs the bathroom. And nobody wanted to open. They went through my journals without my consent. They take away everything you have. They have done, I always say, Lentegee, why they're in that profession, I do not know. But there are places where mental health nurses are just rude. Blatantly rude. They don't care about your health. They care about the pocket there. If you want to pee in the middle of the night and they're sleeping, dan moet jy maar jou pee inhou of jy moet hieruit trein gaan pee. But other than that, there's nothing else you can do about it because they're now gonna feel no, they here to look after you and all of this, but yet you're mistreating. I had a friend that was with me in the second part of it, and she would used to cry. And this one nurse just told her, saw at her and told her to like get out because she can't deal with the crying. I mean, you're a nurse, you're not supposed to be doing that. We are here for the fact that our mental health is so severe, but you guys are triggering it even more. And that is what got to me. That is what, and I went on a rampage when I came out because I felt like, why are you in this way? I'm getting locked up. I'm getting frozen half to death. I can't see my family. I can't see my friends. Limited to 5 minutes phone calls. And they check. Your phone call can only be 5 minutes, nothing longer than that. You can hardly go out. And if you have a book, the book, nothing can go into your room. It must just be outside wherever it is. In the second high risk, you can get clothing, a little bit of clothing, but also not a lot. And you have more privileges to bath or shower, but you also get watched. Everything gets watched. And that high risk section is the one part I think really needs to be looked at Lentegeur, because the way those people treat those people, the way the nurses and well, not even doctors, the nurses, because the nurses are there all the time. The doctors only come in when they need appointment, when they do appointments and that. But the way the nurses treated those girls, and I'm watching it, and I was diarizing it and everything, because I was like, I'm going to expose this place. Because there is no way that you're going to call yourself a mental health facility, but yet you are causing mental health issues for the people. Because I lived there with PTSD. I didn't have that. I overcame my PTSD. And then I lived there with more PTSD and a fear of closed spaces. I became even more claustrophobic. When I worked so hard to not be there, to overcome that fear, I became even more claustrophobic because of the fact that you have to be stuck in there. I fully understand that being a risk is hard. However, there is no need for you to be even harder, because we have to now go through this process and we have to learn. However, there is a therapeutic program that is very good. That is not that, but that's a different part of Lentegeur as well. But guys, if you want to be booked in, just please try not to go to Lentegeur.
Especially high risk.
Especially high risk. Do not go there. Do not. Try Stickland or try somewhere else, but not Lentegeur.
So being high risk in a mental health situation is worse than being a prisoner.
Yes, it is. So much. I mean, a prisoner gets a liquor bed.
Food.
They get like liquor food. I mean, they get park time, they can walk around, they get activities that they can do. Nee, ek moet net gaan lê. Is al wat ek moet doen. En ceiling kyk. Then they say do exercises. Okay, how much more exercises can I do? Because obviously, when you have ADHD, you're bored. You can't, you need to be active.
Ronel, tell us more about your foundation. What is the aim? What would your foundation like to achieve? And basically, as we've mentioned before, when you say you've got a mental health issue, people look at you, as your attention seeker, crazy. People don't understand. There's no education for people out there. Yeah. What is the aim of your foundation?
So when I started I have been, obviously for the past 3 years, it has been closed, but I've still been doing work here and there. When I started the foundation, my focus was gender-based violence. That was my main focus. And I had created programs where, with like photo shoot, for example, we'd help and we'd have a sit and we'd talk and we'd share what you want to share. If you're not wanting to share, it's okay. Then from there, I went on to schools and I create programs for young girls that are, so the social worker at the schools will identify which females are possibly being abused or in a gender-based violence situation. And I go through a 12-week program with them where I help them overcome their trauma, but by doing it themselves, by expressing themselves in different ways. I don't need to hear your story. I don't need to know your story, but I can help you overcome your story by going through the 12 steps. And it's so simple, it's so easy, and I was very amazed when the program was done. I saw and I showed them what they did before, because in the beginning they had to draw something, and at the end they had to draw the same thing, but obviously it was 12 weeks later, so it was different. And I showed them and I asked them, now do you see the difference? And that became where I then went into menstrual education and sex education, because I don't do that in schools anymore. The young girls, they are struggling. Mitchell's Plain, I've done so much of Mitchell's Plain schools. Primary school children are falling pregnant. And this is actually them, because their families are drug addicts for some other reason. So they're not doing it for attention. It's just that maybe the guy that they're sleeping with is giving them money and food that they don't have. And that's the problem I've been finding in school. So my goal and for the foundation is to continue raising awareness of the fact that menstrual education, sex education needs to be brought back into the schools. Gender-based violence talk needs to be brought back into schools, because all of these things we were told, we had that. Even if it was once a term, and schools have budget for this. They have a budget to pay an external to come and do it. They just choose that budget for whatever else. And I know that because I know teachers. And the teachers tell me, no, I have a budget, I can pay you. But they don't want to pay you. They're waiting for a freebie. And you're waiting for a freebie, but your concern is supposed to be the children. Your primary care is supposed to be the children. And if it's not that, and it's all about the money, then how do you think the child's you can't be disappointed if the child leaves standard 5 pregnant. You didn't make an effort as a principal or as a teacher to say, listen guys, let's do this. Let's start creating. And that is what I do, is that I send these programs out to the schools and I tell them, this is what I'm willing to do. This is how I will help. These are my menstrual topics that I talk about. And I don't just do it with girls. I do, when it comes to menstrual education, I do adolescent education also for the boys, so that the boys are also aware of their bodies and how their bodies are changing. Then at the end of it, I integrate them both and I say, you guys are going to get married one day. So if you are going to make fun of a young girl that got a period and she's being stained, are you going to do that to your daughter when you get older? Are you going to do that to your wife one day? So why now, because you're young, you think you can bully and shame a female for having a period and it being stained, but you forget that in future you're going to have the very same thing. You're going to have a partner that's going to have periods. You're going to maybe have a daughter that's going to have periods. How I look at that and I tell them those things. And I say, you guys need to look at your future. Is this the person you want to become in your future? Because you are also going through changes. And women aren't bashing you for your changes. Jy wil 'n bietjie baard groei, maar jou hare kan nie groei nie. That's okay. We're not going to bash you for it. But now why is it okay to bash menstrual? It's not our fault. It's just, it happens. And I try to do that. So I do a lot of pad drives as well for schools. And I created into like a little market and a fun day. And I would deliver to about 3, as many as I can, schools. And when I do that, I create a package. Underwear, there'll be underwear in, there'll be feminine wipes, and then a pack of pads. And the reason why I do the underwear, people always ask that, is because generally if you get your periods during the day and you don't know, because these girls don't know how to calculate their periods. I have to physically teach them how to do that. So there's a lot of those that I need to teach. So when you don't know, okay, I'm getting my periods today, your panty is going to be soiled. But if you're at school, they go to your counselor, she will have a panty there because I provided them with panties, clean underwear, feminine wipe yourself properly clean so that you don't feel dirty, and there's your pad. And throw that soiled panty away, and you can use your new panty that you have now. That way your dignity comes back. That way you can go to class and not feel like, oh my word, I need to cover, I need to this, I need to that. No, you don't need to feel that way anymore. And I want to give that to the children. I want to give that to our young girls.
Thank you very much, Ronel. Ronel, now, there was a story, and I saw this online once. Can you tell us a story about I know that there was a happening in Grassy Park. What happened? I know there was. I think the headline was something about heroism or something.
Don't get me, hero.
So can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, it was. I think my perception on people also changed that day. Like I said, I have a fight mode in me. My instinct is always to not to attack but to protect. So my fight mode is always to protect. And this was in 2021, the time my mom got diagnosed with cancer. So I was on my way, it was in busy corner. I was on my way to the shop to go get my mom get my mom a medication. And it was about 4 o'clock the afternoon. And as I came walking by, I was walking past Grassy Park High, and on the opposite side, there was this lighty that was bugging an older man. And the man is walking further, and you could see he's one of the older gentlemen that, that are past their retirement age, but they have to work for their families. You could see that. You could see on his face that, he's tired of the day, he's tired of the week. He doesn't still want to deal with this. And the children was grabbing on his back because he had a sling bag and a packet in his hand. And this likely it was a group of, I think it was a group of children. And they were drugged. They were extremely high, which I didn't know at the time. And as the guy crossed over and they wanted to grab his bag, I decided, you know what, this needs to stop. I walk around with a pocket knife, right, a Swiss Army knife. My intention was not to stab the guy at all. I just took it out and I kept it in my pocket. And then I asked him nicely, please leave the gentleman alone. From there, he pushed me, and then I obviously moved my knife. I pulled out my knife, and with that, he grabbed my knife, cut himself with my knife. He thought I had cut him, and he thought that he had cut me because he saw blood, but he didn't know it was his own blood. And with that, he started attacking me. Luckily, the gentleman that they were trying to rob, he had walked on, and so it was focused on me, which I was okay with, but also not okay, because I'd rather me than the older man. I mean, this man has a family also, and if he's still working at this age, then it must be really serious. And the worst part is they were so high on whatever it is that there was. That road was so busy. It was in the middle of the road that they were attacking me. Broke my knife, literally broke my hand. So this 2 bones was broken. My fingers, I couldn't move my fingers for like about a year. I couldn't move my fingers or my hand. It took very long for my bones to readjust. I still have all the scars of what had happened. My hand was literally twisted right around. And it was really, really, it was a bad experience for me because I thought I was doing it right, the good thing. I thought I was trying to help somebody, and I probably shouldn't have done it. But then again, what would have happened if I didn't? What would they have continued to follow that man? Would they have continued to attack him and hurt him and things like that? Then the guy's mother, the boy's mother, came and also attacked me. The shop on the corner refused to allow me in so that I could get safe and to lock the gate. No, they just pushed me away and they locked the gate. And there was actually somebody that went there, and there was security footage also of the whole incident. And there was just cars driving, and the cars were just swerving around. They didn't care. This guy ended up picking up a brick, threw a brick against my head, and I don't know, I can't even remember what else. My bag was full of blood. Everything was so full of blood. I didn't even know I was bleeding. I felt nothing. I don't feel any pain, nothing. My thing was just I want to get away. And it was bumper to bumper traffic, and only one person came. One guy and his partner came to come and help me. And they put me in the car. The woman was just as angry. She also attacked her husband, who a partner, did the same thing, also tried to attack them and get them off. And what did the boy do? He took another brick and he smashed the windows in. Because they were just high. And it was just, that was the only people that helped. And I'm very thankful to them. I've They have spoken to them again afterwards, and they took me directly to the police station. What was very upsetting for me was, while I was at the police station, there was another couple or people that was busy reporting another case. And they were saying, yes, that the guy's outside. So I also went outside and I told the police, there's the guy that assaulted me. And they didn't do anything. They did absolutely nothing. They had photos. My friend had sent me photos of the guy, and I had sent it to the police. And they had done absolutely nothing about it. That guy still lives opposite the police station in the informal settlement. They still live there, and nothing was done. I was literally outside of the police station while the police was running, and I said, but that guy is also part of it. He was the one that attacked me, and they did nothing. They just came back because they couldn't run anymore. They were too tired of running, so they couldn't get to people. And I had photos. I had found out that the mother of this boy that attacked me was in actual fact primary school with me. And still, the police did absolutely nothing about it.
You know, that's a sad thing about society. And I think our communities changed that way, where they, and with mental health and other things, everybody's just for themselves lately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not that giving, sharing and caring Cape Town that where we grew up in.
No.
But yeah, thank you for being here, Ronel. Just before we go, you know, we'll definitely get you back in the studio to speak more about this. I know there will be a Q&A from our audience.
I'm happy to answer anything.
Tell us more just about your business. You mentioned something about your mobile business, and then also any words or advice from your side for our audience out there.
Okay, so I run a mobile salon. I do hair and makeup and a little bit else as well. It's called Nero, Hair and Beauty. The meaning of it is healing. So in my business is more focused on healing your hair and bringing it to the way that you want it and the way to its natural health. But I also run a project for matric balls and proms for those that cannot afford it. So I help them. I will do their hair and makeup for them, and I'll try and it's called First Step to Queendom, where I would help young girls actually attend their matric ball, raise funds for the tickets, because I mean for the tickets is like 500-600 rand. Seriously, you're in a area where you know there's no, so I do that as well, and my business focuses on helping people a lot. Then my foundation as well, we will be doing our first event at the end of this year. It will be doing a comeback, a book carrot, so they can just check Closing the Book Foundation. That is my NPO's name. And I will also, I'm doing a gig on the 26th of August in Woodstock. It's called From Dust to Glory. It's a fashion show. I'll be speaking there, and I'll be doing MC as well. So I'll also be talking about my journey and mental health and gender-based violence and all of those things. And yeah, but at the moment, my income is basically through the salon. Still a bit small, but I do have a lot of services. I come out to your house, and you know, you get the entire treatment and all of those things. But I've got a lot of specials running for this month, for Women's Month. So please go have a look at the page. I will send the link to George. And then for advice, I can't say what I want to say on air now. But there could be 1,000 reasons to give up. But hold on to the one reason that you can hold on to. Because there is, like for me, whenever I feel like giving up, my son ends up doing something that just reminds me, you know what, I'm not this bad person. And people say love for something. When we say love for something, that something doesn't need to be a person. You can love for your cat, love for your dog, love for your flowers, love for your garden, love for anything that brings you peace and joy, and hold on to that. Whenever you are feeling in any way that life is just being harsh, you can reach out to me as well. My public page on Ronel Prince, I'm very open into doing group sessions also. If anybody is interested, I have no issue with that. But just hold on to living for something that brings you joy. Doesn't matter, even if it's a pen, live for that pen, live for that thing, find something to live for and hold on to that as tightly as you can.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you very much, Ronal. Thank you for being in studio. We'll definitely have you back. And then also for the foundation, you know, and the Q&A, as I said, you know, we'll even, we've got another lady that normally, that's also coming back, you know, it's like, it's mostly the ladies that's coming back.
It's a good thing. Ons modelle is mos lief vir praat.
So we'll definitely have you back. Thank you very much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with one of our other guests as well, Grant Adams. He's also got a project with youth, so he'll join us. He's a pastor. He's been in the field for many, many moons. You know, by me, moons is like yo too. So,
I think I'll just sit on the side and listen in.
And thank you very much, and we'll catch you in about 10-15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Take care.